history of our progress teaches us anything. And it is one of the greatest virtues of all time. And no nation which expects to be the leader of other nations all require us to make it.
Dobro večer, dragi naši gledaoci. Dobrodošli na još jedan podcast Centra za stratešku analizu. Moje ime je Biljana Shahrimanyan Obradović, a večeras zaista imamo jednu ekskluzivnu emisiju. Iako znate da ja uvek najavljujem ekskluzive, ali ovo je jedna posebna ekskluziva jer naši gledaoci će ovoga puta imati priliku da čuju tačne i necenzurisane informacije upravo strane ukrajinskih eksperata. Večeras ću voditi razgovor sa gospodinom Mykhailo Samusom, direktorom nove geopolitičke mreže iz Ukrajine i gospodinom Igorom Fedykom. Pa za početak da im poželimo dobrodošlicu. Hello and thank you for your time, first of all. Welcome to Serbia, to the Belgrade, and welcome to our podcast.
Thank you for inviting.
Thank you for having us here.
So we will today speak about the situation in the Ukraine. So first of all, I want to ask you, Mr. Samus, to ask you about the root of Ukrainian-Russian conflict. What are the main drivers of the Russian aggressions and what Russia wants to achieve by horrible destructions of Ukrainian citizen people? What is the situation of that?
It's a long story, of course.
Yes.
We have a long history together with Russians, and of course, first of all, I think that the problem was Mr. Putin, because he decided, unfortunately, he decided to destroy Ukraine as an independent state. This is a main reason and main root of this conflict, because we could talk a long time who was the first Kiev Rus or some older Russian state, like Putin trying to say who was the first Orthodox Ukrainians or Russians, but in reality we didn't have any problems on history. I mean, the problems which allow Russians now attack Ukraine with full-scale aggression and killing people just to give us a new understanding of our history. I think that it's a geopolitical revenge of Russian and Putin personally, because he told that the greatest geopolitical catastrophe on 20th century was collapse of Soviet Union, and he is just trying to renew Soviet Union and Russian Empire in one place. And of course, without Ukraine, this project it doesn't work, and that's why he's trying to occupy Ukraine. He's trying to destroy independent state of Ukraine. Maybe it could be some like Ukrainian state, quasi-Ukrainian state, like it was in the Soviet Union. But of course, he is trying to destroy Ukraine as an independent state and nation. And of course, this term denazification means that Putin thinks that Ukrainian cannot exist at all, and Ukrainians just don't have a right to exist on this planet. And this is crazy in 21st century, but it's true.
So, Mr. Fedyk, what you think? What is the real thing about what is happening now in the Ukraine for the aggression? That is the renewed Soviet Union or something else, like Mr. Samus told us?
No, I absolutely agree with Mykhailo. Just wanted to add a couple things about this war, in the sense that Putin wants Putin's propaganda wants to show that this is not the war between Russia and Ukraine. This is the war against West and Russia, or West, China and Russia, and Ukraine is like we were told here a couple of months ago with some Serb experts, and I think this idea is very popular here in Serbia. Yes. That this is not the war against Russia and Ukraine, and that Ukraine is cynically used by the war by the West. But it's not true, because this is the war that we are having now on our territory nowadays. This is not the result of the Russian and Ukrainian relations for the last couple of months.
Yes.
This is the result of the Russian policy towards Ukraine, at least since the collapse of the Soviet Union. So since the 1991, Russia was thinking about rebuilding the Soviet Union, and when Putin came into power from the 2000s. This idea. So the Moscow started realizing more harshly this idea, and first signs of that we could see in 2008 with the war against Georgia, then 2014 war against Ukraine, and now this full-scale military operation in 2022. So this war is the result of the aggressive Russian policy against Ukraine and against Putin's wish to reestablish the Soviet Union, to establish the control over the countries of the so-called post-Soviet space.
So, Mr. Putin and the Russian Federation call this special operation. So that is a special operation to destroy everything on the Ukraine, or to take some cities and towns, or something else. Why is the special operation of these aggressions? What do you think?
Actually, they planned this special operation.
Yes, that is all the name.
It's all the name, and they planned it as a special operation because they planned this special operation. They didn't plan this.
To be aggression.
To be ended in 48, maximum 72 hours. But they miscalculated in different things. They miscalculated about the possibility of the Ukrainian armed forces for rejection of this aggression. Also miscalculation the possibility and the wish of the Ukrainian people to fight Russians. Also they miscalculated about the direction of the Western community.
Yes.
So what we have now? We have the full-scale war that lasted more than 4.5 months. We have the strong Ukrainian army that is fighting the Russian army. As recently our Secretary of National Security Council said that Putin's plans were to demilitarize Ukraine. So he announced before the 24th of February, but in fact nowadays he has the total militarization of it, the total opposite effect, and he got the support of Ukraine by the Western countries. He has the NATO again in the game. He has the strong response from the European Union, and he has two more NATO members. Which is, for example, the Baltic Sea has become the inner sea of the NATO.
NATO, yes.
And I like to add, because of the special operation. Why? Because Putin is a KGB guy, and he always planning special operations in all of cases in his life. So when he is going to shopping center, he's planning special operation. So he tried to. That's why Russians now they are not planning war. They are planning special operations, and sometimes it's called hybrid warfare because it's a multi-layer approach. It's not only military, of course. It's energy, it's economy, it's a psychological warfare, information warfare, and that's why it's special operations. It's really special operation. But in reality, like Igor told, it's a full-scale war, finally.
So, Mr. Samus, we hear a lot of one-side story about aggression on Ukraine. Can you please provide us to better insight of situation of the battlefield? What you are expecting from all of everything this?
Yeah, it's the full catastrophe on the first stage of the operation, of the full-scale operation, because of they didn't count the full-scale defense from Ukraine, and the Ukrainians will fight. So they had a disaster of the military operation in the Kiev Oblast, Chernihiv Oblast, Sumy Oblast is another part of Ukraine. They escaped from this northern part of Ukraine and concentrated on Donbas. So the main goal now is occupy the Donetsk and Lugansk Oblast and proclaim that LNR-DNR, so-called LNR-DNR, is a free, deliberated country which is recognized by Russia. That's why they concentrated the half of all of forces now on this front, and another half is the southern front. It's from Kherson Oblast, Zaporizhia Oblast, and of course go to Mariupol and to the Russian border. And the critical important for Russia is to get Odessa and to close Ukraine to the Black Sea. So I think that next month we will see the very strong battles on Donbas, because it's a political task from Putin to get this region. And of course from Ukrainian side, we will see the main activities from Ukrainian armed forces, especially on the southern part, that Ukraine will try to deoccupy the Kherson Oblast and Zaporizhia Oblast. So we will have the different fronts, and I hope that very positive developments for Ukraine.
So, Mr. Fedyk, what you are expecting about this everything? And I want to ask you, what is the situation now in Donetsk?
Exactly in the city of Donetsk,
yes,
or
yes.
in Donetsk region.
On Donetsk city and of course of Donetsk region. What is the situation? Where is the hardest now?
Well, the hardest situation is still in the northern part of the Luhansk region, because Russian they claim that they captured the whole Luhansk Oblast, but in fact there are still fightings on the north part of Luhansk region. And of course, the Russians, the next step, as Mykhailo said, there will be they want to capture the whole Donetsk region. So the next main cities, which are the main targets of the Russian command, will be Slovyansk and Kramatorsk. They will advance to them from different directions, from the Luhansk direction, from Kharkiv direction, from Izium direction, and from Donetsk direction from the south. So we expect, as Mykhailo said, very tough situation in the nearest future in that region. So, but nevertheless, it was mentioning that situation on the front line is starting to change because of the Western supplies, I mean military supplies. So Ukraine is receiving the so needed for us long-range artillery, especially the MLRS systems from the United States. And the results of using, now we can witness the results of using of these systems when Ukrainian forces can effectively destroy the Russian military objects like military depots, command posts, and other important objects in the rear. So in the depths of 70 kilometers, for example. So since for the last 2 weeks we destroyed more than 10 such points, and we will continue to use these weapons for such. And this why it's important, because it's made very difficult for Russians to make the supplies for their troops who are advancing in Donbas and in the Donetsk and Luhansk region. So at the same time, we see the advances of counterattacks of Ukrainian troops in the south, in Kherson region, which says that the task for Russians the task of capturing Odessa region nowadays is almost impossible, because first they have to establish the full control over the Kherson region, then capture Mykhailo, and then advance towards Odessa. Nowadays, and with capturing of the liberating of the certain island by Ukrainian forces. So marine assault operation against Odessa or south of the Odessa region. And the Russian advance to Odessa by the land, the probability is very, very low. I would say 0.
So, is the aggression on Ukraine part now of wider world conflict? Are we now witnessing 1939, for example, in this aggression?
Yeah, we can compare in somehow. This because we see like the anti-Putin coalition is forming. Also, we see within this coalition that the players who want to burn grain, to make deals with Putin. So, but I'm not sure that we see that the more or less the West is united and it is defined with the goal. The main goal. The main goal is that Russia should be weakened, should be weak, so it cannot do any more such hard thing like they did against Ukraine, and that this was claimed by the time before first Rammstein, maybe by the Secretary General of the United States and Ministry of Defense of the United States. When they came to Kiev.
Yes.
So the task of the West is to support Ukraine and not to give Russia, to make Russia weak enough, not so it cannot do such things again against Russia and and move further to the Western countries.
So, Mr. Samus, how much is important support in weapon delivers to Ukraine? Can you be satisfied?
Yeah, I think that is critical importance because without this support it's impossible for Ukraine to continue the fight. I think that Putin, while he prepared this war and this special operation, they counted that Ukraine was only post-Soviet weapon, and because Ukraine had before this war only mostly it's 90% of the post-Soviet weapons. Something was produced in Ukraine after the collapse of Soviet Union, but nevertheless it was kind of general majority of Ukrainian weapons were of course the Soviet weapons. And I think that Russians counted, and of course if we compare Ukraine and Russia, it's impossible even to see how it, for Ukraine only try to fight with Russia. And for example, Ukraine had like 1,000 tanks, but Russia 15,000, and the same with armored vehicles, the same with aircraft, helicopters, etc., artillery, like more 1-0 for everything. But now we have the situation when West helping us, and we on the process of the war, we changing our weapon from Soviet to Western style, Western standards and Western calibers. For example, Ukrainian artillery now became in 155 instead of 152, 122 of Soviet Union. So during the war, we're changing from Soviet standards to NATO Western standards, and without it, of course, it will be absolutely tough for Ukraine, difficult for Ukraine to continue this war. Now we have a situation where...
Does it make a bigger difference, yes?
Yeah, it's not only different, but in reality, if you remember about Lend-Lease, which President Biden signed for Ukraine, it means that Ukrainian armed forces now using the American defense industry, UK defense industry, German defense industry, French defense industry to arm Ukrainian armed forces. So it's half feared. I couldn't believe in it. I couldn't even imagine it. But now it's reality that Western countries supported us in supporting us in so great volume, I would say. And of course, the situation now is like Russian still using post-Soviet armaments, and Ukraine started to use modern Western technology, modern Western doctrine, modern Western approach, and especially, for example, like network-centric warfare, it means that all of defectors, all of indicators, all of intelligence system, and commander and lines should be in the same system, so it's in real time make a decision and destroy enemy. This is the new approach which Ukraine now use. Russia cannot use it because they don't have this technology.
Aha, okay, yes, this is a good analysis. And Mr. Fedyk, I want to ask you, what you think, what is the real reason why Russian Federation use Soviet Union weapons and everything of that technology? Why don't they use the modern technology? Because we can see on the Red Square, when is that on the May 9, of that weapons, tanks, and everything is like a modern, but we can see that on the Ukraine now aggression. Why then don't use that weapons and everything, technical, yes?
Well, they have been using all modern weapons they have in the Iranian army, everything they have. So we can see they made a very big success in developing, for example, the electronic warfare systems, and they all using them, and they are quite effective. At the same time, you maybe you wanted to mention such like Armata tank or another things on that basis. So
Su-57 aircraft.
Yes, but it was only propaganda. It was only propaganda. But the tanks like T-72 main battle tank, it's pretty new one with Western devices inside. The Russian helicopters also have the Western or French or Italian navigation system, so they use it. But despite that, they do not use it very effectively. They use these modern weapons, but with the Russian tactics, so which give us the possibility to destroy them. And the reality is that they have the lack of the new system. They have to open the depots and to use the outdated equipment like T-62 tanks or this old MLRS systems or old infantry vehicles, or to ask, for example, Belarus to transfer their weapons to Russia. So
and the main problem, what I told, the network-centric warfare, they can use it because they don't have normal intelligence, they don't have the command and control, and this is a problem for Russians. And since Soviet time, Soviet Union had a lot of weapons, doctrine. They had, actually the Soviets they had this in Russian it calls разведывательно-ударный комплекс. It's like intelligence strike complex. So it's like network-centric warfare, the same like in NATO doctrines, but they didn't have capabilities to create a system. They have elements, but all of these elements could be better or worse. But in the same time, they couldn't put it on the one system like command and control, especially command and control, joining, integrating everything, the factors, indicators, and making decision centers. And in real time, and this is the problem. So it could be they have some intelligence, but they couldn't use it because they don't have this links to send the information, and of course they don't have the proper making decision process. In Western doctrine, which Ukraine now use network-centric warfare approach, this is the main and key element of our successful strategy.
And then would like to add thing about this in this context about the airstrikes against Ukraine. So Russia is using the Kalibr missiles or Iskander missiles, and they claim this to be the precise weapon. But the problem for Russia is that she has very limited quantity of these so-called high precise weapons. And now we see that the Russian is using the old outdated missiles against Ukrainian and military and civilian objects. So they use these hard type missiles, which are launching from the bombers, which has the deviation of 1 kilometers, and in fact these missiles are designated not to attack the exact military or small object, but big like aircraft carrier groups. And with using the nuclear warheads. So if you use nuclear warheads, the deviation in 500 or 1 kilometer, 500 meters or 1 kilometer, it's nothing. But when they use against such missiles against the military targets within the cities like in Kyiv or Kremenchuk, deviation is such deviation is critical, and Russia doesn't destroy the military object but destroys the civilian building, and there are lots of casualties among the civil population.
Yes, unfortunately.
That's the problem.
Another problem is lack of intelligence. They don't have enough satellites, and don't have the strategic and even operational UAVs, which is Ukraine has. And,
the modern technology.
Yeah, it's a network-centric affair without intelligence possible, and the intelligence like UAVs. Now we have this Bayraktar, but except for Bayraktar, we have Ukrainian UAVs, a lot of them. Russia has a lot of tactical UAVs, but it's not enough to have, for example, the target acquisition for these missiles, like aviation. So they could make a strike, but they cannot, evaluate what kind of a strike and what is the place, what the target. That's time. The last times that they hit several, like shopping center or the hotel, they told that it was a military object, but it's not true.
That's not true.
It's like everybody see that it's a very bad intelligence. This is a problem for Russians now.
So, and that is everything about the Russian propaganda. What do you think about that?
Yeah, it's famous tools in hybrid warfare. So it's famous from the Soviet time, and now Russia is using like one of the element of producing this preparational battlefield. It's from the military tactic, but before you attack some nation, you should prepare it. You should prepare this battlefield. And of course, first of all, you should change the minds. You should you should influence on energy, economy. But I think that mindset is a critical element. What happened now? Russians, I don't know why they thought that when they enter with military forces to Ukraine, everybody will meet them with flowers on the armor, but situation was absolutely opposite. And what I think it was the greatest surprise for Russians, for example, Kharkiv, the 20 kilometers from the Russian border, Russian-speaking city, 1 million city, but when they arrived to Kharkiv, they got the strongest defense, and they just killed Russians without any hesitations. It was absolutely a surprise. Okay, Kyiv, it's okay, but Kharkiv, Mariupol, for them it was very bad surprise. Again, bad intelligence. This is a critical problem for Russians. And the propaganda, of course, one of the elements. So propaganda doesn't work in Ukraine. Propaganda could work here in Europe, but not in Ukraine totally. And 24th of February told us that it doesn't work at all.
So, Mr. Fedyk, what do you think about Russian propaganda in media, in newspaper? Because they want people believe that in that cities in Ukraine lives only Russians people. Why they do like that Russian propaganda? Because we know that in that Ukraine cities live a lot of nations, not just Russians.
Yeah, they always wanted to say that the eastern part of Ukraine is totally pro-Russian, predominantly Russian-speaking population, which have very strong feelings about Russia, strong sentiments to Russian, but and it's again the miscalculation of the Russian intelligence and Russian state leadership that in Ukraine, even the Russian-speaking population can be pro-Ukrainian. He can perceive himself as Ukrainian, and love Ukraine, but he is just Russian speaking.
Yes.
And the result of this war is that these people who were pro-Ukraine, but they were Russian speaking, now they speak Ukrainian. So they say, okay,
Yes.
thank you, no Russian language anymore, I will speak Ukrainian. And another myth of the Russian propaganda was that, and I think it's still here in Serbia or in other countries, like in Bulgaria and the Balkans, is popular that Ukrainians and Russians, it's the one people. Like,
one nation, yes.
One population. So we are brother nations and so on and so forth. But in fact, it's not true. And Russian state leadership don't understand the mentality of Ukrainians. So after Maidan of 2013-2014, Russians should have learned the lesson from that Maidan, that Ukrainian people, Ukrainian speaking, Russian speaking, from the east, from the west, whatever, in the peacetime, we can quarrel with each other, we can argue and so on and so forth about the politicians, about the direction of development of the country. But if there is the external aggression against the country, so all we are united. Russian speaking, Ukrainian speaking, whatever. So, and that should have been the clear sign to the Russians, to the Russian intelligence, that the approach to Ukraine should have been changed after that. But we see that
that is not possible.
In 2014 there was the same approach, that if Dnipro or Kharkiv or Odessa are Russian speaking, they will meet us with the Russian soldiers like liberators, and they were surprised.
Yes, because they live all of life. They are born there, not just theirs, their fathers, grandmothers, and a lot of people there. So, Mr. Saman, we have a little time. I want to ask you, what is your security assessment and prediction about situation development?
Yeah, I think that it will be till the autumn we will have a strong, very intensive battles in Donbas and south of Ukraine, because for Russians it's very important to get Donbas, and for Ukrainians it's very important to deliberate south, because we have agriculture, we have Odessa ports, we have national and global problems connected to south, and of course it's very important for Ukraine. So I predict that next couple months will be very intensive battles, but on next period, especially winter, Putin will try to shift a little bit the focus on energy and food crisis. So try to organize energy crisis here in Europe, and of course the food crisis globally, to again to create some migration flow to Europe, to have a crisis here in Europe, in Western Europe, and in Serbia, in all of countries, trying to hybrid, to change the approach from strictly military to hybrid warfare again, and trying to get out from this situation, because anyway for Russia it's a disaster already. So and Putin cannot stop this war, because it will be a disaster for him personally inside of his elites in Russia. So he is trying to go to hybrid warfare and trying to press on Ukraine and Europe to sign something that we agree on some situation in middle of disaster for Russia and some peace for Ukraine.
So, Mr. Fedyk, for the end, I want to ask you: when we can expect to stop this everything, to stop this aggression?
I cannot do such a prediction.
1 month, 3 months, 2 years?
No, unfortunately, the war can last at least 1 year. So at least 1 year.
Yeah, we hope 2023 will be kind of end of this long. Yeah, but not of course full stop, because as Putin exists like a political leader, it means that this region will continue this war anyway. It's impossible to stop for Putin region this war.
From our side, to make drastic changes on the battlefront, we have to have the much more weapons for that, much more than we have now, to make real changes. So we need this land lease to work as it has to be.
Yes, in Ukraine
To change all of weapons.
All the weapons, yes.
To change everything.
So, Mr. Fedyk and Mr. Samus, thank you so much for your time. Dragi naši gledaoci, ovo je bio jedan specijalan podcast Centra za stratešku analizu. Imali smo zaista ekskluzivne goste koji su direktno došli iz Ukrajine i odvojili su svoje vreme kako bi čuli šta se dešava direktno sa terena upravo iz Ukrajine. Želim da vam kažem da želimo mir, želimo naravno da se sve ovo što pre završi, da ukrajinski narod pobedi, da povrati svoje teritorije, zato što je to narod koji se našao pod agresijom Ruske federacije, koja sada trenira samo silu nad Ukrajinom i želeći da pokaže upravo i Zapadu koliko je ona jaka i tekako se pokazalo da stoji nestabilno. Želim još jednom da se zahvalim našim gledalcima. Thank you so much one more time. So, and slava Ukrajini, naravno, dragi...
Herojem slava.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Dragi naši gledaoci, budite uz nas i naredne sedmice sa našim novim gostima. Prijetno!